My name is Tom Benware, the Adirondack Woodwright. Welcome to my shop. I'm a rustic furniture artist. I create pieces in the Adirondack style of furniture. I've been doing this for about 12 years now. My pieces are very detailed, meticulously crafted. Sometimes I spend as much as 500-600 hours on a piece of furniture. Today what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be building an accent I call an 8-pointed star out of yellow birch twigs. If you've seen the video on making a double diamond, the process is very similar with just a few differences. So basically what I need for this project is my Japanese pull saw, which is a very thin curved, very sharp, double-sided saw. It's got a fine cut saw side and a cross cut side. I generally use just the fine cut side. And the difference between this saw and the traditional American type saw is this is a pull saw, which means you cut on the pull stroke versus the American saws where you cut on the push stroke. Very fine tool. I recommend you get one of these if you're going to do any kind of work like this. They're about $25 in most hardware stores, lumber stores, whatever. The other thing I need for this project is my my little box jig that I used in my double diamond process. This is just a miniature miter box with some pre-cut saw slots at about 22.5 degrees. And then I need this this little template I use, and it's just got the different points of the diamond laid out, and the angles and the lengths. And this side over here is where I use to do the actual cutting. We'll get more into this in a minute. But along with that, I'll be using traditional Adirondack material, which to me means yellow birch twigs. Back when the Rockefellers and the DuPonts were creating their grape camps back in the turn of the century, the caretakers would, of course, build the property, build the buildings, take care of the property during the summertime, and in the wintertime when things got cold and hard to build, they would gather up the natural native materials and they would create furniture out of it. And that's what I do too. I use the natural materials. I take all my twigs, I take them to the kiln after I've harvested them, which I harvest in the winter time, so that there's less sap into the wood, so you have a better chance of the bark staying onto the stick. So I harvest that, and I process it down into just the sticks to get rid of all the brush. Then I take it to the kiln and have it kiln dried. Then it's ready for me to work. And in a different video, I'll show you my supply of materials and what goes into gathering and harvesting the stuff and storing it and that kind of thing. But for now, we got our sticks, we got our tools. Along with my hand tool, I'll be needing to use my my old Racine bandsaw from Racine, Wisconsin. It's an oldie but a beauty. And I'll be needing to use my 6x48 belt sander. So let's get right into it. So here we are at the bandsaw. An oldie but a goodie. It works great. Very heavy machine, but you can use any kind of bandsaw will work for most of my work. You can go out and get a used one someplace, or you can get the tabletop models you get from Sears or Woodcraft or whatever places like that. But the first thing we want to do is we want to cut straight pieces out of these sticks, and they need to be about 3.5 to 4 inches in length. So first thing we do is we're going to go through and cut them up straight, and we're going to stack them together so that we keep the pieces in the same place. So when we go to use them later on, they're going to be book matched. So one side will match the other side. So let's get going with the saw, and we'll get my pieces cut up and ready to work. So the first step, I guess, I told you, was we're going to cut these pieces to length, and then we'll cut them in half. try and make them straight as possible and cut around the corners and all the angles, the curves. This piece is kind of rough, but we won't use that. We'll put these aside, not in our way. I'm going to try and do a bunch of them at a time. Instead of going back and forth. Well, that should be enough. We start getting a little bit too big a stick for us anyway. So all these pieces cut the length, and the next step is to cut them in half. When you do that, if you're really cautious working around this belt, this saw, so you just want to start your cut and let them stick slowly. Push it through about halfway, keep your fingers back out of the way. Then you want to reach around behind the saw. Just start pulling it out. Now you got your two pieces, and you just want to set these aside, and again, keep them in the same, keep them together so you're not getting mixed up with the other sticks. And just repeat that process with all your sticks. So, just like that. These up, and we'll get on to the next step. Okay, as you can see here, I finished cutting up the sticks, and we're ready for the next process, which is going to be basically flattening the sticks and making them parallel, straightening them out. As you can see in this stick here, we have things like these little nubs have to be taken off. If you can see that, you see it there. And what we're going to do is we're going to sand the bottoms flat, and we're going to make the sides a little bit more even and parallel. And to do that, we're going to use the belt sander. Here's my belt sander. This is just your basic 6x48 inch model belt sander. And the thing about this sander is you got to be careful because we're dealing with small pieces and you can sand your fingers, so caution is a requirement. But what we do is we grab the sticks with the fingertips on the ends like that, turn the belt sander on, quickly sand the bottoms, and we're going to turn it sideways, just touch this side and turn it over and just touch the other side, and that'll give us a parallel side. So here we go. Doing this, you want to try and make sure that you get the sticks about the same thickness to match up better when you're going to work with them. You don't have to be perfect, but you can adjust it as you go along. Again, you take each stick, follow the same procedure, bottom, one side, the other side very lightly, and on to the next. I'll get that in a minute. I'll give you a little bit better close-up of how this actually works. Again, stick that way, that way, that way. And again, it's flat and parallel on both sides. Sometimes it's got these little twigs on the end of it, so you want to get them off. Next, you just turn it over, just turn them right off. Like that. miter saw. We're going to start cutting our angles. Now, if you recall seeing the, if you were if you saw the video on making double diamonds, you'll see it's very similar to what we did there. This is a double diamond. This is the first diamond, and this is the double part right here that goes in the middle. And so what we do is we take our stick, place it in our miter saw, our miter box, and grab our saw, and we line it up so it's right at the edge there. A couple quick swipes with the saw, and you get the first piece. You reverse the angle. There you have our pieces, and again you want to make sure that you match them up so they're the same, so they're matching pieces. And instead of cutting this piece, you want to just use this cutters, and you just cut it in half like that. Do it that way. So we just continue making these cuts on each stick, and remembering to reverse your angle so you have matching pairs. And again, make sure you keep your pieces matched. These are a great little tool. You get these at, I got these at Sears. It's just a razor blade pair of snips. They work great. So again, you just continue down the line until you get all your sticks cut. Then we'll be back for the next part. And here we have it. All the pieces lined up, ready for the next step. The piece that these are going to go on, or become part of, I'm going to need I'm going to need 4 sets of 8 points each, so there's 32 points that I need, and I generally cut a couple extras just in case 1 or 2 gets messed up in the process. So from here we go over to the sander and on to the next step, and I'll see you at the sander. Okay, here we are at the sander. We have our pieces all ready to sand, and our sander right here to go. And again, a lot of this work is repetitive, so I like to do all the repetitive thing at the same time. It saves setup. So what happens here is, in the miter box process, you leave a rough edge right here on the end of the sticks where the saw was cut through. So we have to take care of that first. So what we got to do is just quickly run that edge and take that little burr off. And again, it's just a matter of going down each piece and giving them a quick swipe, and that edge comes right off, and that makes the pieces go together a lot easier and a lot cleaner. So again, I don't think you want to stick around for all this boring stuff unless you're doing it yourself. So I'll let you go, and I'll be back in a minute and I'll show you the next step. So I'm gluing up and start assembling the pieces. And again, a little bit about my fasteners and what I use. I'm quite often asked, what do I use? I use all kinds of fasteners and glues, depending on what the application is. I use everything from regular yellow wood glue, contact cement. I use a lot of nails, brad nails, with an air gun. Very convenient, very time-saving. And one of my favorite glues is cyanoacrylic glue. This is basically, it's a super glue. This happens to be a name brand of Zap-A-Gap, which I kind of like a lot. It works pretty well for me. And then along with this glue, there's a thing called an activator, which is a spray which makes the glue set much faster. Normally the glue will set on its own between 15 and 20 seconds, which is pretty good. But with the activator, you can have it set in 3 to 5 seconds usually. And one thing about these glues is You want to do everything you can to keep it off your fingers, because it will glue your fingers shut in a hurry. So if you do get some on your fingers, you want to quick put the piece down and wipe your fingers off. That's why I'm always wearing old clothes in my shop, because I ruined so many pairs of pants with this kind of stuff. But the way this stuff works, and I'll show you on a few of these, it's a two-part. You spray one half with the activator, and the other half you put a little small bead of glue on it. It doesn't take a lot, just a small little bead. And you line them up the edges, the points and the top, and just simply press and hold for a few seconds. Count to 3, 4, whatever, and then typically that's all it takes. Now you can see in the back there's a little bit of a groove that was formed when I did that little hand sanding to get the edge off. That's always a good place to put a little bit more glue in there, just to make sure that the bottom is extra tight. So you put a little bit more in there, give it one more quick spray, and then you want to take this piece and set it down upside down so you don't glue it to the table, because it will glue it to the table and you won't get it off. So again, spray one edge, glue the other, small bead, keep your fingers clean. Clean fingers are happy fingers. Put it together, press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, sometimes it doesn't always work. You gotta quick try again before the glue sets up. That time it took. Again, you want to put a little bead in the back. So, like I said, I'm going to need at least 32 of these points, and that's probably going to take me about 15 minutes to keep these all glued up. So, once you see it done once or twice, it's all the same. Just a matter of repeating it one at a time. And there you go. A little bit in the back. I'll finish these up and we'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, there you have it. Everything's glued up. I got probably about 40 points down there. Like I said, I'll need about 32, but it's always better to have a couple extra when you get something messed up. Again, they're all dried. The tops are all put together so they fit nice, but the bottoms are all kind of uneven and off, so I got to fix those before we can start putting the 8-point stars together. And to do that, again, back to the sander. Like I said before, a lot of back and forth, but that's what it takes to get the job right.